Back in the 80s, I told my father, the general, that I didn't want to marry Cui Jiangwo and chose to retake the college entrance exam instead. In my past life, I took a liking to my father's bodyguard, Cui Jiangwo. The moment I laid eyes on him, little did I know, no sooner had we gotten married than he was dispatched to guard the border. With my father's backing, he quickly rose to the rank of battalion commander. After marriage, I was left alone to care for his parents. Working in the fields even while I was pregnant, after my father passed, the shock triggered a massive hemorrhage. I died on the operating table, and he couldn't even be bothered to come back and see me one last time. On Qingming Festival, he stood before my tombstone, holding a little boy in his arms and leading a young woman by the hand. Qingqing, don't blame me. Back then, I only married you because I was pressured by your father's influence. Now that you're gone, it's time for my child to be officially recognized as part of my family. Only then did I realize he had a mistress and a love child all along. His request for a border garrison post was his own doing. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my father was choosing a son-in-law. Qingqing, I'm talking to you. Why are you spacing out? My father, dressed in his military uniform, waved a hand cheerfully in front of my face. Are you so happy you've lost your mind? Seeing my father standing there alive and well, his face beaming with affection, I rushed over and hugged him, bursting into tears. Dad, I've missed you so much. Once I had calmed down a bit, he affectionately patted my head. My child, you're not getting any younger. How about we settle your marriage to my bodyguard, Cui Jiangwo? Today, before I could even respond, Cui Jiangwo strode over with a precise military gait. He first saluted my father, then turned to look at me with deep affection in his eyes. Qingqing, I will be good to you for the rest of my life, you can rest assured. And please tell the general he can rest assured too. Father was very pleased with his performance and was just about to give his approval when I immediately stood up from my seat. Dad, I don't want to get married. I want to take the college entrance exam. What? Both men stared at me wide-eyed, their expressions utterly incredulous. Seeing me reject the marriage proposal, Cui Jiangwo grew even more anxious and grabbed my arm. Qingqing, have I done something wrong these past couple of days to upset you? I'll change. I promise I'll change. Gazing at Cui Jiangwo's handsome, resolute face, my heart ached with a relentless, throbbing pain. In my past life, from the very first day he came to work for my father, I had fallen for him at first sight. Back then, I was still hesitant about whether to get married after the college entrance exams. However, Cui Jiangwo kept pleading with my father, seeing how desperately he loved me, and fearing the engagement might fall through if delayed. My father urged me to give up on the exams. He said taking care of my own family was more important. Little did I know that after this wedding, the nightmare of my life would begin. I quietly reached out my hand, as if I could still see the thick calluses from a lifetime of farm work in my past, and that glaring pool of red from the hemorrhage when I lost the child. Scenes of my tragic past life replayed in my mind as I glared at Cui Jiangwo standing before me. In this lifetime, even if I never marry, I would never marry you. Father's expression changed slightly, and he immediately tugged at my sleeve. Qingqing, what nonsense are you talking? A girl must get married when she comes of age. He then looked apologetically at Cui Jiangwo. Xiao Cui, please don't mind her, I've spoiled Qingqing. Then, he nudged me again and said, hurry up and apologize to Jiangwo. Seeing how unwilling I was, Cui Jiangwo smiled very politely. It's alright, Commander, I'm a grown man, I can be magnanimous about something like this. Then, gazing at me affectionately, he said, Qingqing, if you marry me, I promise you'll be the happiest woman in the world. If I hadn't seen his shameless side in a past life, I'd be moved by his current harmless, sincere appearance too. I don't even want to look at this scumbag for a second longer or hear another word from him. I turned to my dad and said, Dad, I've made up my mind. I want to take the college entrance exam. This is also my way of answering the nation's call to revitalize China. I was always a top student, in my past life. If I hadn't obediently listened to my father's advice, I would have passed the military academy entrance exam long ago, becoming a military scientist dedicated to defending the nation with the most advanced equipment. Instead of becoming a housewife, catering to a difficult and old-fashioned mother-in-law, she always called me a general's daughter, saying I was full of bad habits that needed to be beaten out of me. She insisted I had to be brought down to earth to make a proper daughter-in-law, so, every morning at 5, she'd call me out to work the fields. In the evening, when I returned, she'd still have me cook, feed the pigs, and do the laundry. She and my father-in-law would spend their days either lying in bed or going to the village to play mahjong. Even when I was heavily pregnant and occasionally complained of being tired or in pain, she would jump up, point her finger in my face, and accuse me of deliberately slacking off, now, given a second chance by fate. I don't want to waste any more time on someone who is utterly unworthy. I want to go back to school and realize my own value in life. Only when he saw my single-minded determination to take the college entrance exam did Cui Jianguo finally believe I was serious. His panic was written all over his face as he hurried over to my father's side. "Commander, I truly care for Qingqing. Furthermore, my transfer orders to the border post have been approved, and time is indeed tight. If we wait until I return to get married, Qingqing won't be getting any younger. As a man, I'm not worried about my own time being wasted. I'm only afraid of wasting Qingqing's youth. Since we're going to have the wedding sooner or later anyway, having it sooner would put everyone's mind at ease." After a moment's thought, my father spoke to me gently and persuasively. "Look how much Jianguo loves you and cares for you. Don't be so willful. This matter is settled. After you're married, taking care of your family is what a woman should do. As the daughter of a commander, you'll have plenty of opportunities. There's no need for you to fight for a spot on that narrow college entrance exam bridge. Qingqing, listen to your father. Get married soon, so I can rest easy." His last sentence put me on high alert immediately. It made me think of my past life, where my father was hospitalized less than 6 months after my wedding. So, he had been hiding the truth about his illness all along, just hoping to entrust his daughter to a worthy man while he was still alive. "It's a shame, Dad. Your intentions were good, but that man, he's a monster." The renewed fear of losing my father overwhelmed me. With deep emotion, I grabbed his hand. "I don't want to get married, Dad. I just want to stay by your side and keep you company a while longer." Sensing my vulnerability, Dad took my hand in his and gave it a reassuring squeeze. "Qingqing, a parent's love for their child is shown through careful planning for their future. Trust my judgment. Jianguo will be a devoted family man and a responsible husband." Seeing how insistent he was that I marry Cui Jianguo, and unable to tell him about my past life, I resorted to my tried-and-true method, acting coy. "Dad, I've always listened to you my whole life. Just this once, can you let me have my way? I'm begging you as your daughter. You're the best father in the world, just as expected." Her father couldn't resist. Just as he was about to smile and relent, Cui Jianguo thudded to his knees on the floor. "Commander, for the sake of the 2 years I've followed you through life and death, I beg you to grant me this one heartfelt wish for her." Her father hadn't expected such unwavering determination. One was his trusted right-hand man, the other his beloved daughter. He found himself in a difficult spot. Just then, a voice, aged yet commanding with authority, rang out. "Son, let my granddaughter take the college entrance exam." The moment I saw Grandma emerge from the bedroom, my face lit up with joy. Grandpa passed away early, and Grandma single-handedly raised Father. His filial devotion to her was renowned throughout the entire military district. With her backing me up, I'm not worried about my dad saying no. Sure enough, the moment Dad saw Grandma, his commander-like air vanished into thin air. "Mom, you're not in the best health. You should worry less about household matters," Dad asked cautiously. Grandma shot him a glare and thumped her cane loudly on the ground. "If I don't step in, you'll ruin our family's promising young scholar, the one destined for greatness." Father called out helplessly. "Mom, didn't you always like Jianguo? Why are you so against their marriage today? Qingqing is my daughter. Would I ever do her harm? Jianguo is a responsible and ambitious young man. Your son's judgment is sound. He'll treat my daughter well for the rest of her life. You have my word." It pained me in silence. Father had no idea that all this so-called devotion, sense of responsibility, and ambition were just a facade put on by Cui Jianguo. Less than a week after our wedding, he left to work in the border regions. Once he left, he wouldn't return home for 2 or 3 years at a time. Even when I wrote him letters or sent telegrams, he never replied. Not long after we were married, when Father fell ill, I wrote letter after letter, 10 in total, urging Cui Jianguo to come back and see Father one last time, and yet, even after being promoted to battalion commander, he had the nerve to send some lowly soldier to call and brush me off, saying he was too busy to come back. That day, it was pouring rain, my father passed away, and I was so overcome with grief that I hemorrhaged badly. My relatives tried calling Cui Jianguo over a dozen times on long distance, but he didn't pick up once. That Cui Jianguo is a monster, plain and simple. Grandma could see I was worried. She patted my hand gently and reassured me. "Don't you worry, dear, Grandma will talk to him for you." Then, she took out my invention to show my dad. "My granddaughter invented this, you know. Do you have any idea how many military academies are interested in her?" My dad took it with surprise, and after a quick look, he asked with delight, "Qingqing, did you really make this?" You have no idea how badly our military has been choked by foreign restrictions over this very technology. If this idea of yours is successfully developed and mass-produced in the future, it could take our military hardware to a whole new level. I nodded. That's right, Dad. That's exactly why I want to take the college entrance exam. Only by going to university, gaining more knowledge, and broadening my horizons can I better improve our equipment and strengthen our own country, Dad. The days of our country passively taking hits must end. We must become stronger with each generation. Defending our homeland requires the flesh and blood of people like you, but with advanced, high-precision equipment, we can better protect our most cherished people, our soldiers. Isn't that right? You've been a soldier all your life. You, more than anyone, should understand how precious a soldier's life is. Seeing my sincere patriotism and genuine desire to focus on scientific research, my father was moved by my courage and conviction. He looked at me with fervent admiration. Well done. The apple truly doesn't fall far from the tree. I underestimated you, always thinking you were a sheltered flower, but I never imagined you had the heart of a Mulan, ready to shoulder your father's burdens. All right then, since you truly have the makings of a great talent, I agree. Before he could even utter his intention, Cui Jianguo suddenly cut him off, wearing a look of remorse as he said, Commander, since things have come to this, I don't want to hide it from you any longer. The reason I want to marry your daughter is actually to take responsibility for her. We've already been intimate. I was stunned by his shameless words. I can't believe he would stoop so low as to fabricate such a despicable lie just to marry me. Furious, I grabbed his clothes and wouldn't let go. Cui Jianguo, when did we ever sleep together? You'd better explain yourself. But he looked utterly wronged, adopting a meek and submissive posture as he said, Ching Ching, I know our families aren't a good match, and you think I'm an embarrassment to you, but my feelings for you are genuine. I just want to do right by you. What's so wrong with that? I know you have an injury near the birthmark on your waist. Don't worry, once you marry into my family, I won't let you do any farm work or heavy labor. Just as I was about to argue further, a sharp crash rang out from the floor. Dad had thrown down the large enamel mug he always used for tea. He was trembling with rage, his white hair flying wildly. His fingers shook as he pointed at me. You ungrateful girl, how could you do something so shameless? Dad, you have to believe me. I didn't do it. I pleaded in my own defense. Grandma sank onto a stool, her voice full of concern as she asked, Chinger, tell your grandmother the truth. What on earth happened? I frantically denied it, but before I could explain further, Dad, who had never laid a hand on me before, slapped me across the face in a fit of rage. My head was instantly ringing. You shameless thing. He even knows where your birthmark is, and you still claim nothing happened between you. That it's all innocent. Who would believe that? Stop going on about your dreams with me. Just get married already, and don't stir up any more gossip. Hearing my father insist so firmly that I marry him, Cui Jianguo's lips subconsciously curled into a smug smile, but on the surface, he pretended to be deeply concerned for me, quickly extending an arm to shield me behind him. Commander, if you must hit someone, hit me. It takes two to tango. Ching Ching is a girl. She can't take a beating like this. Annoyed, I pushed his arm away from shielding me and confronted him. You say we had relations. Where did it happen? When? Who can corroborate it? You can't just make a baseless accusation and smear me like that, can you? Cui Jianguo looked like a child who had done something wrong, glancing at his father and then at his grandmother. Isn't this a rather delicate detail to discuss in front of our elders? Besides, it was just the two of us that night. How could I possibly produce a witness? You're putting me in an impossible position. I know I'm not worthy of you, and you don't want to acknowledge our relationship, but please believe me, I will prove with my actions that I have what it takes to make you an officer's wife. We made a mistake, and the best thing is to admit it. I'm sure the commander and grandmother will forgive us. Please, don't argue back anymore. It's not good to upset them. Father let out a long sigh, then grabbed the telephone on the desk and started to dial. I'm going to have a word with your school. They must disqualify you from the college entrance exam. Ching Ching, a girl's reputation is infinitely more important than any exam or future prospects. I frantically grabbed his hand to stop him. Dad, it's true that Cui Jianguo was with someone, but it wasn't me. Just then, a knock came from outside the door. I knew the person I was waiting for had finally arrived. When Cui Jianguo finally saw the face of the person at the door, he froze. He stammered out a question. What are you doing here? There, standing in the doorway, was his first love, young Wan, holding their child. She stared at him, her face a mask of grief and indignation. Cui Jianguo, didn't you tell me you were forced to marry the commander's daughter, that you feared his power? And that you were terrified they'd send someone to harm me and our child if you offended them. I endured all that humiliation for your sake, and now I find out it was all a pack of lies." His father immediately turned to him, his face darkening. "Jangwo, who on earth is she?" Chui Jangwo quickly averted his eyes, flatly denying it. "I don't know her at all." Hearing this, Yang Wan strode up to him. "We're from the same village, we've known each other since we were kids, and our families even arranged a marriage for us when we were children. And you have the nerve to tell me you don't know me? Well then, do you know him?" The child stared at him with wide, watery eyes. Chui Jangwo was stunned. Before he could even respond, the little one spread his arms and cried out, "Daddy, up!" My father was dumbfounded on the spot. His hand trembled as he pointed at Chui Jangwo. What on earth is going on? Not only do you have a childhood sweetheart, but now a child pops out of nowhere. If you don't come clean today, this isn't over." Grandma, however, was much calmer than my father. "Isn't it obvious?" she said. "He's a modern-day Chin Shimmy, abandoning his faithful wife to climb the social ladder by marrying you, the commander's daughter." "No," Chui Jangwo vehemently denied. "That's not true, Commander. I have no idea who this woman is. Someone must be jealous that I'm about to become your son-in-law. They're clearly fabricating this whole thing to frame me," I sneered. "Chui Jangwo, do you think we're all stupid or blind? Even if someone were trying to frame you, how could a child of a few years old lie? The desperate longing in that child's eyes when he misses his father, that's impossible to fake. Besides, look how much those eyes and brows resemble yours. How could we possibly fake that?" He didn't even look at me. Instead, he thumped his chest and declared to my father, "I am a man of honor, a commander. I spend every day in the barracks. When would I have the time to go out and fool around? I beg you to investigate this thoroughly." Hearing his vehement explanation, even my father began to waver. It's true, as a bodyguard, he was by his side every single day, and even his occasional home leave was spent back in his hometown. Yet, the mother and child standing before him made it hard to believe him. My father thought for a moment and decided to start with Yang Wan. "You say you have a relationship with him. What proof do you have? A woman wouldn't just have a child out of wedlock for him, would she? Do you have a marriage certificate?" Upon hearing this, Chui Jangwo reached out his hand toward Yang Wan with a smug look. "Exactly, words are cheap. I need proof. You say you're involved with me, that I'm the father of your child, then where's the marriage certificate?" 3. Yang Jing's eyes widened instantly as she demanded, "You were the one who told me that since we already had a child, the marriage certificate was just a formality, that what really mattered was us building a good life together." I believed you, and now, this is the trap you've been setting for me all along, isn't it? Chui Jangwo snorted coldly, refusing to look at her any longer. "Commander, you believe I'm innocent now, don't you?" "I have absolutely nothing to do with this woman," he said, then suddenly paused. He immediately turned to look at Yang Wan, his voice dripping with disgust. "I remember now. That year, I went to a village for disaster relief and helped a woman. That was you, wasn't it? No wonder I received a few strange love letters. I even got another one from the post office today. Commander, look." As he spoke, he took a letter from his bag and handed it to my father. My father glanced at it only a couple of times before throwing it down in front of the woman. "I've never seen a woman as shameless as you. How could you write something so explicit, even if you had a secret crush? You can't just show up at someone's door so brazenly, carrying a child, can you? How can you, as a mother, use your own child as a bargaining chip, to cling to him? You'd even go so far as to frame an innocent man. Is this how you fulfill your role as a mother? Is this the example you want to set for your child?" Yang Wan shook her head in utter despair. "Commander, I wouldn't dare do such a thing even if you gave me the courage of a lion. Chui Jangwo is my man, and he is the child's father." Seeing Yang Wan on the verge of collapse, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. In my past life, I resented her too, believing she was the one who destroyed my family. Only now do I realize she was just as much in the dark as I was, another poor soul caught in this web of deceit. The child, seeing his own father glare at him as if he were an enemy, was utterly terrified. The little one shrank back into his mother's arms, too scared to move a muscle. I quickly stepped forward and asked, "Don't be upset, try to think carefully. Is there anything else that can prove the relationship between you two?" Just as Yang Wan nodded and began to think, Chui Jangwo pulled me aside abruptly. "Ching Ching. If you really despise me and don't want to marry me, that's fine. We can part ways amicably, but you can't keep sending this woman with a child to slander me, just to nail me to the pillar of shame. Even if you don't do it for my sake, do it for your father's. He's a commander. How do you think it looks for his personal guard to be involved in such a disgraceful scandal?" I stared at him steadily. I had to admit, he was clever. No wonder my father liked him so much. Just by understanding and exploiting my father's strong sense of pride and need to save face, he had already won. Sure enough, after hearing this, my father gave him a silent, approving glance. I remembered my past life. It was precisely because my father trusted his own judgment too much. Not only did he insist I marry him, but whenever I occasionally complained about my in-laws treating me poorly, my father would say I was being too spoiled. He told me to learn to see things from their perspective and to be more understanding of the hardships of country folk. In the later years of our marriage, no matter how much hardship I endured, I stopped confiding in him. My father went to his grave never knowing the true nature of Cui Jiangwo and his family. I quickly added, "Dad, we must get to the bottom of this, otherwise, his reputation will remain tarnished, and your daughter's good name will be dragged through the mud." Cui Jiangwo's eyes narrowed, and he began advancing toward me, step by step. "Qingqing, tell me the truth, have you fallen for someone else, or do you simply look down on me? Did you deliberately find a woman to sabotage our engagement?" I can't believe he's trying to shift the blame onto me again. He stared at me intently, then immediately put on a pitiful act. "If you're truly unwilling, you can explain it to the commander. We don't have to get married. But there's really no need to ruin my reputation. We've never had any grievances, past or present. So why are you coming at me so viciously? I believe I've treated you and your family fairly. If you genuinely look down on me and think I'm not good enough for your family, that's fine. We can just call off the wedding. But please, stop slandering me. You'll destroy my future." His words stirred something in father, reminding him of the man's unwavering care and even life-risking protection in the past. "Daughter, if you truly don't wish to marry, then don't. But what is the point of causing all this trouble?" Seeing Cui Jiangwo take the moral high ground and begin to pass judgment on me, I merely offered a cold, derisive smile. "Cui Jiangwo, do you genuinely not understand why I refuse to marry you?" With that, I took out a paternity test report and placed it in front of him. This is the latest technology that can determine if two people are biologically related, and this report clearly states that he is the father of this child. Grandma looked at me in astonishment. "Qingqing, is this really that miraculous?" "Yes, Grandma, even the police use this technology to identify criminals now." "How accurate do you think it is?" Cui Jiangwo's breathing grew ragged. He took a few steps back, doubling down on his defiance. "Even if this proves a biological link, how do I know whose DNA you used? If it's the real father's DNA, planted to frame me, I'd still have no way to clear my name. Besides, how did you even get my DNA? Using it without my permission is a violation of my rights." Seeing him sink to such shameless depths, I decided to drop the act entirely. "Fine, if you have nothing to hide, bring the child and come with me to the hospital. We'll do the test again." My father's eyes lit up. "That's right, Jiangwo, since it's a case of," he said. She said, "Why don't you just go and take the test yourself? That way, no one can ever accuse you wrongly again." Seeing that my father was now siding with me and insisting on the test, Cui Jiangwo's face began to show signs of panic. "Commander, I haven't had a moment to spare lately, what with the handover and then being stationed at the border, sir. Since Qingqing has no desire whatsoever to marry me and clearly doesn't value what we once had, perhaps we should just call off this engagement. I'll accept it." Seeing him start to backpedal, there was no way I was going to let him off the hook that easily. Cui Jiangwo, who was it just now swearing up and down about loving me, what's the matter? Unwilling to get a simple paternity test for me? Or is there something you're hiding? After saying that, I turned my gaze to father. "Dad, I absolutely do not agree to this marriage, but you still need to get to the bottom of his character. After all, he's your personal guard. If there are all these messy issues, it won't just affect your reputation, it will tarnish the image of the military itself. I insist on recommending a paternity test." Cui Jiangwo hadn't expected that even after he gave up on the marriage, I would still be hounding him. He grew angry on the spot. "Qingqing, I've tolerated your slander again and again, even after I took the initiative to call off the engagement. You still won't let me go. What is this really about? What is this about? How dare you even ask me that? Shouldn't you take responsibility for what you've done? Shouldn't you be responsible for this poor mother and child?" I demanded sharply. "Responsibility?" Cui Jiangwo suddenly burst into laughter. "You have no evidence whatsoever, yet you demand I take responsibility. How can I? For whom? I'd love to be responsible for you, but you wouldn't have me. Isn't that right?" Looking at his utterly shameless face, I couldn't contain my rage and slapped him across the cheek. "Scum like you are a disgrace to the military." He was completely caught off guard by my sudden strike, but for the sake of my father's presence, He could only cover his reddened cheek and seethe in silent anger. Suddenly, Yang cried out. "Oh, I remember now," she said, producing a few money order receipts. "Commander, look, if the child weren't his, why would he send me money to help raise it, right?" Before my father could even take them, Chui Jianguo snatched the receipts away first. "That's right, I did send you money, but that was just sympathy, pity, really. After you confessed your feelings and I turned you down, it was an act of charity, because I felt sorry for a woman struggling to raise a child alone. I think I just heard the joke of the century. There are so many pitiful people in the world. Why have I never seen you show kindness to any other woman? Why her, specifically? The child's eyes and brows look so much like yours. Do you really expect me to believe that's just a coincidence? Looking alike doesn't prove anything. Coincidences happen all the time." At that moment, father, who had been silent for a long while, said in a low voice, "Give me the remittance slip." Chui Jianguo was taken aback. His father's voice was clearly laced with anger as he raised his volume. "Give it to me." Only then did Chui Jianguo, his eyes evasive, hand the item over to his father. He looked at the amount, and the corner of his eye began to twitch uncontrollably. "Jianguo, be straight with me. Not only do you send this money on time every month, but the amount is nearly half your salary. Even if you're feeling charitable, no one in their right mind would give away that much, would they, Commander?" Chui Jianguo was left speechless. My father kicked him to the ground. Gasping for air, he demanded, "Talk, what the hell is going on?" Just as he was about to confess, someone burst into the room. "Don't hit my son, it's all my fault." Everyone turned to look. There, on her knees with tears streaming down her face, was Chui Jianguo's mother. "Commander, if you must punish someone, punish me. This is my fault. It has nothing to do with Jianguo." Her sudden appearance stunned everyone. As she helped her son up from the ground, she sobbed, "This is a family disgrace. I never wanted my son to speak of it. So Jianguo has been enduring it in silence. The truth is, Yang is my illegitimate daughter, Jianguo's half-sister." What? I couldn't believe my ears. Not just us, even Yang, the person at the center of it all, was frozen on the spot. She kept shaking her head at me. "That's not right. It's not. She is not my mother at all." But before her words had even finished, Mrs. Chui threw herself forward, weeping uncontrollably. "My child. I know you hate me for abandoning you when you were little, but I had no choice. Please, stop blaming me. I know I was wrong. For the sake of your brother, who still sends you money every month, won't you forgive me?" Yang pushed her away sharply. "Your son has done this disgraceful thing, and not only are you shielding him, you're telling such an outrageous lie. At your age, have you no shame?" But like a piece of stubborn adhesive plaster, Chui's mother clung to her once more. "I was wrong. I can understand you not accepting me, but you can't ruin your brother's entire life just because you hate me. Your brother is truly innocent. He's done so much for you. You should have a conscience." Madame Chui's arrival brought a smile of sheer relief to Chui Jianguo's face. As if he'd been saved from the brink of disaster, he hurried over to my father's side, his face etched with deep regret. "Commander, I know it was wrong of me to hide the truth, but she is my mother. And it was a private family matter. I felt I had no choice but to go along with it, which is why I wasn't entirely honest. But regardless, I swear to you, my relationship with Yang is completely innocent." Hearing her son's plea, his mother put on an even more earnest performance. She even tugged at my father's sleeve and said, "Commander, it was a foolish mistake I made in my youth. And Jianguo ended up taking the blame for it. If you must punish someone, punish me. Jianguo only sends the money every month because he pities me and can't bear to see his sister raising a child alone. If it weren't for protecting me, he would have clarified their relationship long ago. That's also why the child resembles him. They are related by blood. After all." Chui Jianguo seized the moment and hugged his mother, crying, "Mom, your son has failed you. I'm useless, making you worry about me at your age. For my sake, you didn't hesitate to expose your own shameful past." Mother Chui shook her head, looking at him with a heart full of remorse. "My son, it's your mother who has failed you. I should never have ruined such a promising marriage for you." Watching the two of them put on that pathetic act made me sick to my stomach. In my past life, my mother-in-law was relentlessly harsh towards me. When my father fell gravely ill, and she realized there was no more influence or advantage to be gained from him, she didn't even bother to visit him in the hospital. If I hadn't been forced by her to toil in the fields for so long, malnourished and sleep-deprived, my health wouldn't have deteriorated to the point where I hemorrhaged and died along with my unborn child. That old hag is my enemy too. I glared fiercely at Mrs. Chui. "Auntie, you say she's your daughter. Fine, Can you tell me any distinguishing marks on her body, a mole or a birthmark, perhaps? My question jolted Mrs. Choi out of her performance. She froze, glanced at Chui Jiangwo in a panic, and blurted out, I told you she's my illegitimate child. Back then, for the sake of appearances, I had no choice but to give her away, since I didn't raise her myself. I'm not familiar with her birthmarks. I only found her and acknowledged her as my daughter in recent years. Granny couldn't take it anymore and chuckled, you shameless woman, having an illegitimate child when you were young was disgraceful enough, and what's this? As a mother, you gave your own newborn away without even a glance. As fellow mothers, I can only say you have a heart of stone. Hearing Granny's words, her face turned pale, then flushed, and her lips quivered for a long moment before she finally spoke. She doesn't have a birthmark at all. Don't you try to trick me. Oh really? Yangwan rolled up her long sleeve and said sarcastically, a birthmark this big, and you, as her mother, could forget. Staring at that dark brown birthmark, Mrs. Choi forgot all about her act. She was mortified with embarrassment, no, that's not it, I'm getting old, I really did forget. Watching her clumsy performance, my father finally caught on. Do you take me for a fool? A birthmark that large, if it were me, I'd remember it even if I were turned to ashes. And you call yourself a mother? Forget me believing you're her mother right now. Even if you were, you wouldn't deserve to be. Then, he fixed his silent gaze on Chui Jiangwo. His eyes filled with nothing but pure contempt and fury. After all, a man who has faced death on the battlefield countless times, once my father's aura takes over, there's no one who isn't intimidated. Chui Jiangwo didn't dare meet his gaze. See Commander, Jiangwo, you've got some nerve, putting on an act right in front of me. You pulled out all the stops just to become my son-in-law. To cover one lie, you've spun a web of countless more. Even dragging your mother all the way here to play her part. Out with it. What's your real relationship with Yang Wan? Seeing her son being pressured into a confession by my father, Mrs. Choi flew into a rage and started making a scene. What does it matter what their relationship is? Your daughter is already my son's woman. You'll marry her off today whether you like it or not. My son is destined to be your son-in-law. Seeing his mother recklessly throwing a tantrum in front of my father, he turned pale with fright. He kept tugging at her sleeve, urging her to stop. To his dismay, it had the opposite effect. Mrs. Choi only grew more emboldened. Planting her hands on her hips, she continued to bellow with righteous indignation. Your daughter has already slept with my son. Who else would have her now? She's damaged goods. No one else would want her. If it weren't for my son's foolish sentimentality, insisting on marrying her, do you think our Choi family would be willing to take in a pampered general's daughter and treat her like a princess? If you have any sense, if you care about your daughter at all, you'll settle this marriage quickly. That way, her little scandal won't get out and she won't be drowned in a sea of gossip. My father had seen all sorts of people in his life. He wasn't about to be intimidated by her cheap threats. After hearing her utterly presumptuous speech, my father was so furious he could only laugh. Well, I've lived a long life, but I never knew a shrew could look like you. Thank heavens I didn't marry my daughter off to your son, with an unreasonable village woman like you for a mother-in-law. Who knows how much misery my poor girl would have suffered. With that, he made a call, and several guards arrived immediately. Take Chui Jiangwo and this mother-son pair for a paternity test, now. If he resists, restrain him and do it anyway. Hearing the commander's order, Chui Jiangwo's legs gave way, and he slumped to the floor on the spot. Seeing that his scheme was exposed and knowing my father was too furious for any plea to work, he quickly grabbed my arm and began to sob. I'm sorry, Ching Ching. I must have lost my mind to do something so foolish. For the sake of our past relationship, please spare me. If I'm thrown out, my life will be ruined. If you just agree, I'll serve you faithfully for the rest of my life. I'll be forever in your debt. I shook off his hand in disgust. Chui Jiangwo, if you have any shred of decency left, you'll own up to the consequences of your actions. Yang Wan and her child are innocent. Spend the rest of your life taking proper care of them. Within a few hours, the test results came back, and the whole truth came to light. He even found out about the birthmark on my body by bribing a female friend of mine. My father immediately reported it to the entire unit. Chui Jiangwo was swiftly discharged in disgrace, slinking away from the army with a permanent stain on his record. News of Chui Jiangwo's actions quickly reached the local village committee, and the entire village looked upon his family with utter contempt. Not long after, unable to bear the public scorn and pointed fingers whenever they stepped outside, the whole family left their hometown for good. Afterward, not only did my father apologize to me on his own accord, but because of this incident, He never pressured me to get married again. I also successfully took the National College Entrance Exam and was admitted to a top-tier military academy in the country, where I began my formal studies in military science. Time flies. After graduating a few years ago, I became an accomplished military expert, found my purpose in life, and met like-minded comrades at the military academy. Together, we have walked hand in hand, sharing a lifetime of happiness. Every inch of our land is as precious as gold. I will march forward courageously, embrace my new mission, and continue to pursue my dream of building a strong military. Story 2. In the third year of our marriage, Dean Joe handed me divorce papers after learning of his first love Blair Lee's death. He said he wanted to keep vigil for Blair Lee with a clear conscience. Heartbroken, I tearfully agreed, on the way to finalize the divorce. We were both killed in a car accident. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day Dean Joe proposed to me. At that moment, he was on one knee, holding out a ring, asking me to marry him, but the next second, I saw him withdraw the ring and frown. In an instant, I understood. He had also been reborn. Amid the crowd's cheers and shouts of "Marry him," Dean Joe suddenly withdrew the ring in his hand. His face filled with panic. He kept looking around frantically. When our eyes met, he froze abruptly, followed by a long silence, just as the crowd grew impatient and began murmuring, wondering whether the proposal would still happen. Dean Joe suddenly curled the corners of his mouth, his eyes brimming with irrepressible joy. The next second, he stood up, threw away the flowers in his hand, rushed out of the crowd, and ran off without looking back. Watching his resolute retreating figure, I instantly realized he had also been reborn. My throat ached with suppressed sobs. After forcing back the urge to cry, I looked up toward the sunlight and smiled bitterly. Very well, in this life, may we each find our own peace. In our past life, Dean Joe was forced by his mother to marry me because his first love couldn't bear children. As for me, I fell in love with him at first sight and happily agreed to marry him without knowing much about him. For 3 years after marriage, we were deeply in love and happy, never quarreled, and even had a lovely daughter named Little Jojo. Just as I was overjoyed and preparing for a second child, suddenly one day, he tearfully begged me to sign the divorce papers. It turned out his first love, Blair Lee, had passed away. He said he had never loved me. Marrying me was merely to obey his mother's wishes, just to continue the family line. Now that Blair Lee is dead, his heart has died with her. Once, abandoning Blair Lee had made him regret it for the rest of his life. Now, his only wish is to accompany her on her final journey as her husband. His words pierced my heart with every syllable, as if refusing would make me the third party tearing apart someone else's family. For his sake, I tearfully agreed. Little did I know that decision would cost us our lives, but fortunately, we were both reborn. Perhaps heaven itself is helping us, giving us a chance to choose again and return to the right path. It had been 5 years since I last saw Dean Joe. I was invited by his mother to attend her 80th birthday celebration. Because his mother and my grandmother had been close friends since childhood, she treated me like her own granddaughter. Even though I didn't end up marrying Dean Joe, I still visited her often. Just to avoid awkwardness, I would deliberately choose to go when Dean Joe wasn't around, but this time, it seemed unavoidable. There was no way not to meet. When I saw Dean Joe and Blair Lee surrounded by a crowd at the banquet, I was genuinely happy for them in my heart, because, in this lifetime, the time had long passed the point when Blair Lee had died in the previous life. Seeing her standing there safe and healthy, chatting and laughing, I felt genuinely happy for her. There wasn't a trace of any other emotion, just pure respect for life. No matter what, being alive is already wonderful. I made my way through the crowded room, offered my blessings to Joe's mother, and was just about to grab a plate to get some food when, suddenly, Dean Joe called out to me. After looking me up and down, he frowned deeply. "Nova Huang, how come you've aged so much since leaving me? And what's that on your chest? Why is there such a large yellow stain?" I quickly lowered my head and only then noticed the large patch on my chest where milk had leaked out. My face instantly flushed crimson, and I hurriedly blocked with my arm. Seeing this, Dean Joe sighed, then took off his suit jacket and was about to drape it over me. Without a second thought, I immediately refused. "No need, I have a jacket in my car." After I rejected him, Dean Joe became quite agitated. "Just wear it when I tell you to. Why are you being so difficult? Don't you know that today's guests are all high society from Shanghai? If you show up looking so sloppy, you'll only embarrass our family." Perhaps because Dean Joe's voice was too loud, it immediately caught Blair Lee's attention. When she saw me, she immediately walked over to us and then naturally linked arms with Dean Joe. "Oh my, isn't this Nova Huang? What brings you here? Didn't our Dean make it clear enough 5 years ago? He doesn't want you." Doesn't want to marry you. So why are you throwing yourself at him again? I froze, not expecting her to be so vicious. After all, I had never done anything to hurt her from start to finish. I raised my head and met her gaze. It was Grandma Zhou who invited me here. Upon hearing this, Blair Lee's eyes suddenly turned sharp, her entire body radiating with anger. Don't you dare bring the old lady into this. Do you think having her support means you can stand between me and Dean? Let me tell you, it's impossible. If 5 years ago he could defy his family and dump you for me, he can just as easily kick you out now for my sake. With that, she immediately turned and sharply yelled at Dean Zhou, tell her to get lost, I don't want to see her. Dean Zhou frowned, Blair Lee, stop being unreasonable. Okay, me, unreasonable, who's being unreasonable here? Tell me, do you still have feelings for her? Do you regret not listening to that old woman and marrying her instead? Let me tell you, I won't let this go. Even if you come crawling back, I won't forgive you. I'll never forget that you betrayed me. Blair Lee grew more agitated as she spoke, her voice rising to a terrifying volume, drawing hushed whispers from the crowd. Look, that's Dean Zhou's fiancée. It seems she's the one calling the shots in the Zhou family now. I heard Mrs. Zhou doesn't seem to like her much. What can she do even if she doesn't? Mrs. Zhou is already 80 years old. She's getting on in years. Besides, Dean Zhou loves her. And Mrs. Zhou can't dictate her son's choices. Seeing the situation, Dean Zhou, fearing Blair Lee might continue her outburst, quickly pulled her to the second floor. Before long, he came downstairs looking dejected, then walked up to me and said with a bitter smile, sorry for making you witness such an embarrassing scene. I shook my head, it's fine, I shouldn't have come, but Grandma Zhou, she's so old. She built such a vast family fortune for the Zhous, she really shouldn't be treated like this. Dean Zhou stared at me in a daze for a long moment before suddenly grasping my hand. Nova, can we start over? Do you know, lately, I've been dreaming about our life together as a family of 3 in our past life. So warm, so beautiful. I let out a cold laugh. Dean Zhou, do you even know what you're saying? Start over. How? As soon as I finished speaking, he immediately pulled out $1 million check from his pocket and placed it in my hand. Take this for now, given your current situation. I assume life hasn't been kind to you. From now on, I'll give you 100,000 every month. As long as you can bear me a son, what I can offer you will only increase, never decrease. You could even return to the privileged life you had in our past life. My stomach churned as I looked at him in disbelief and asked, are you planning to keep me as your mistress? Nova, don't put it so harshly. Okay, I genuinely want to get back together with you. I replied with a cold expression. President Zhou, please behave yourself. Your fiancé is upstairs, and I'm already married. Please stop saying such things. I find it utterly disgusting. Dean Zhou's eyes widened instantly upon hearing my words, his face filled with disbelief. What? You're married? Impossible. Who did you marry? Come on, Nova, don't say such angry words just to reject me. I get it. Are you feeling shy? Fine, I'll give you a day to think it over. Once you've made up your mind, come find me at the Lifeng Hotel under the Zhou family. Disgusted, I tore the check in my hand into pieces and threw them fiercely at his face. Dean Zhou was instantly furious. Are you out of your mind, Nova Huang? With a good life right in front of you, you insist on living a life that makes people look down on you. I couldn't help but laugh. Dean Zhou, which eye of yours sees me living poorly? Dean Zhou's face was full of impatience. Alright, Nova, stop being stubborn. When you were with me, you always dressed impeccably. When did you ever go without makeup? Look at those dark circles under your eyes. I bet you can't even afford eye cream now. Can you? I was utterly speechless. Dean Zhou, don't you think you've crossed the line by saying such things? Let me repeat myself. I'm already married. The reason I'm not wearing makeup is simply because I just had my second child and am still breastfeeding, so I can't be bothered with it. As soon as I finished speaking, Dean Zhou's face turned deathly pale. His gaze lingered on my chest before he suddenly lost control, grabbing my wrist and shouting, how is that possible? You clearly only love me. How could you possibly marry someone else? Besides, I've been keeping tabs on you for the past 5 years. There's no way you could have gotten married. I let out a mocking laugh. Impossible. Dean Zhou, you really think too highly of yourself, don't you? My indifferent attitude instantly made Dean Zhou flush with anger. Nova Huang, can you speak properly? Stop being so sarcastic. I fucking hate it when people talk to me like this. I gave a cold, disdainful laugh and said nonchalantly, Dean Zhou, do you really think I still care about your feelings? I'm no longer that foolish woman from my past life who revolved around you every single day. After speaking, I used all my strength to try to pull my right hand free from his tight grip. However, The harder I struggled, the tighter Dean Zhou held on. Just then, Blair Lee suddenly appeared at the top of the stairs. Seeing us in a tug-of-war, she instantly flew into a rage, rushed down the stairs, and charged straight at me. Before I could even open my mouth to explain, she raised her hand and slapped me hard across the face. "You shameless bitch, can't you understand human language? I told you to get out, leave this place. Are there no other men in the world? Why must you cling to someone else's man?" Dean Zhou was also startled by Blair Lee's actions and quickly stepped forward to calm her down. "Blair, don't get so worked up, things aren't what you..." Dean Zhou hadn't finished speaking when Blair Lee unexpectedly raised her hand and slapped him too. "Shut the hell up," seeing Blair Lee lose control of her emotions. The guests who had come to celebrate Grandma Zhou's birthday quickly left the banquet. In less than 5 minutes, only Grandma Zhou, Dean Zhou, Blair Lee, and I remained in the living room. Though Grandma Zhou is advanced in age and confined to a wheelchair, her commanding presence remains undiminished from her prime. "Have you had enough of this disgrace? The reputation of the Zhou family has been utterly ruined by you. Dean Zhou, take that woman and get out of here immediately." With that, she slowly motioned for me to come closer. "Nova, come here and help me to the bedroom." Seeing this, Blair Lee directly shouted at Grandma Zhou, "This is my house. If anyone's leaving, it should be you." As soon as she finished speaking, Dean Zhou slapped her hard and roared at her. "Blair Lee, are you fucking crazy?" Grandma Zhou trembled with anger. "Such disgrace to our family. Truly a disgrace to our family." Blair Lee covered her slapped face, staring at Dean Zhou in disbelief. "You dare hit me? We're breaking up. I'm breaking up with you." Dean Zhou spread his hands, looking completely indifferent. "Fine, break up then. Get the hell out of here right now." Seeing this, Blair Lee threw out the words, "You'll regret this someday," and rushed out. After Blair Lee left, the usually strong-willed Grandma Zhou suddenly burst into tears. Pointing at Dean Zhou, she scolded, "You idiot, what did I tell you back then? She wasn't right for you. I warned you not to be with her, but you just wouldn't listen. And to win her back, you even gave her 30% of the company's shares. Do you have any idea what that means? It means she'll always have a say in the company, and from now on, every decision you make will be under her control." Dean Zhou covered his face with his hands, his expression filled with anguish. "She wasn't like this before. We used to love each other so much. I don't know what's gotten into her. Ever since she found out you disapproved of her because she can't have children, she's become completely unhinged, flying into rages for no reason, even demanding that I kick you out. If it weren't for trying to placate her, I would never have transferred those 30% shares to her." Grandma Zhou sobbed uncontrollably. "I'm 80 years old, already knocking on death's door. My greatest wish is to have my children and grandchildren around me, and here you are, throwing away a perfectly good Nova, insisting on marrying a woman who can't bear children. What on earth were you thinking back then?" Dean Zhou looked up at me with a pained expression. "I ruined everything. I wish I could go back to the way things were before." With an indifferent expression, I avoided Dean Zhou's gaze and gently comforted Grandma Zhou. "Grandma, don't dwell on it too much. Taking care of your health is what matters most." After settling Grandma Zhou and saying goodbye to her, I prepared to leave. Dean Zhou, seeing that I was about to leave, suddenly spoke up again to try and win me back. "Nova Huang, as you can see, I've already broken up with her. Can we get back together?" I was utterly speechless and let out a deep sigh. "Dean Zhou, let me say it again, whether you're single now has absolutely nothing to do with me. I'm already married and have 2 adorable children. Why would I abandon my happy life to be with a man who has abandoned me twice?" Dean Zhou grew frantic, nearly pleading. "Nova, I don't care, I really don't. You can bring both children, I'll treat them as my own. Just give me one more son, that's all I ask." I was utterly speechless. "Dean Zhou, I love my children, I love my husband, please have some self-respect." Still refusing to give up, Dean Zhou shouted at me, "I don't believe it, Nova Huang, you clearly love only me. How could you fall for someone else?" I pressed my lips together, my expression indifferent. "Dean Zhou, in my past life, I truly loved you deeply, so much that I was willing to give up my studies to bear a child for you and your family, because back then, I was foolish enough to think that would make you stay and love me, but the truth proved that you can never hold on to someone who doesn't love you. In that life, you knew full well that Blair Lee died of AIDS because of her reckless behavior, yet you still abandoned us, your own child and me, for her. After being reborn, you humiliated me again by leaving me at the altar, turning me into the laughingstock of the entire school. After all this, do you really think there's any love left in me for you?" Seeing my resolute attitude, Dean Zhou seemed on the verge of collapse. He staggered, barely able to keep his balance. "Nova, I know you're still mad at me. I truly regret it. Please give me another chance. I couldn't be bothered to look at Dean Zhou's feigned affection any longer, turning resolutely to walk away. Just as I reached the door, unexpectedly, my husband Gu Ningyu was getting out of his car. My heart leaped with joy, and unable to contain myself, I called out husband. Before rushing into his arms, Gu Ningyu naturally wrapped his arm around my waist and gently kissed my lips. Mrs. Zhou, how is she? Is she doing well? I nodded, yes, very well. Meanwhile, Dean Zhou followed closely behind, and when he saw Gu Ningyu, he froze in place instantly. Gu Ningyu smiled as he looked at Dean Zhou. Long time no see. Dean Zhou's lips trembled, his face turning pale with anger. So Nova married you, Gu Ningyu. Are you even human? How dare you steal your brother's wife? Gu Ningyu curled the corners of his lips, unable to suppress a laugh. Dean Zhou, what nonsense are you spouting? Since when has Nova become your wife? Still, I should thank you for not marrying her back then, otherwise, I would have missed out on such a wonderful wife. After speaking, Gu Ningyu couldn't resist planting another kiss on my lips. Dean Zhou clenched his fists tightly, trembling with anger, then turned to look at me. Nova, don't be fooled by him. In our past life, he had ulterior motives toward you. Have you forgotten how he cried on our wedding night, telling me to treat you well? Hearing Dean Zhou's words, I suddenly remembered, there really was such an incident, and during the time when Dean Zhou forced me to divorce. It seemed he was the one who silently stayed by my side, comforting and encouraging me. I looked at my husband Gu Ningyu, feeling a warmth in my heart. It turns out our fate had begun from that moment. My husband Gu Ningyu was utterly baffled and couldn't help but laugh as he asked, Dean Zhou, have you lost your mind? What past life and present life? When did you ever marry Nova? And when did I ever cry and beg you to treat her better? I tightly grasped my husband Gu Ningyu's hand and signaled for him not to pay attention to Dean Zhou's words. Gu Ningyu smiled and nodded, then wrapped his arm around me as we got into the car. After that, he said thoughtfully, let me drive you home. I'll have a driver bring your car back later. Dean Zhou was utterly devastated, muttering to himself repeatedly, how could you two be together? This simply doesn't make sense. I looked at Dean Zhou and smiled as I retorted, why not? Truth be told, when Dean Zhou abandoned me in front of so many people at the proposal scene back then, it truly broke my heart. Coupled with the pain he caused me in my past life, it left me utterly disheartened, and I wasn't ready to embrace a new relationship right away. However, just as I was in a miserable state, waiting to be laughed at, it was Gu Ningyu who suddenly appeared and quickly took me away from that extremely awkward scene. He even arranged for my leave of absence from school that very day and sent me back to my grandmother's house in the countryside, to help me forget the past quickly. He even put aside his work and moved next door to my grandmother's house. Every day, he would chat with me to keep me company and cheer me up. Only after making sure I had emerged from my gloom did he confess his feelings and pursue me passionately. Because of the painful experiences from my past life, I didn't want to accept him. However, it was he who extended a helping hand time and again when I needed it, giving me the courage to step into marriage once more. Of course, the facts later proved that I didn't make the wrong choice. It wasn't until I was with him that I truly understood what love is. Looking at Dean Zhou, I finally mustered the courage to speak. You know what, Dean Zhou, after marrying him, I've never had to take care of our child alone. No matter where he goes, he always tells me first so I won't worry. He comes straight home after work and never attends meaningless social events. Last year when I had severe postpartum hemorrhage, he even wrote his will. Tell me, how could I not fall for someone who puts me wholeheartedly in his heart? Hearing these words, Dean Zhou suddenly grabbed my hand tightly. Nova, are you blaming me? Blaming me for not being a good father or husband in our past life? We can start over. And I can be those things for you. I smiled faintly. It's too late, Dean Zhou. We can never go back. Watching the color drain from Dean Zhou's face, I walked straight to my husband, Gu Ningyu, wrapped my arm around his waist, and got into the car. Just as the car was about to start, Dean Zhou suddenly rushed in front of it like a madman, shouting at me, Nova Huang, don't leave me behind. However, my husband Gu Ningyu couldn't be bothered with him and directly started the car, driving around him and quickly leaving the scene. After returning home, looking at my two children, I felt a happiness I had never experienced before. The events of my past life have long since vanished like smoke, allowing me to completely let go. From now on, I will live happily ever after with my loving and caring husband. A week later, just as I was about to take my precious son downstairs to enjoy the sunshine as usual, I suddenly received a call that Grandma Zhou was critically ill and wanted to see me one last time. My breath instantly became rapid. and I slumped to the ground in disbelief. After settling my son, I immediately rushed to Dean Zhou's house without stopping, recalling every moment with Grandma Zhou along the way. I couldn't help but burst into tears. After my parents passed away early, I grew up with my grandmother since childhood, because Grandma was already advanced in age and completely incapable of raising me. It was Grandma Zhou who stepped in after learning of the situation. She sent us money on time every month, which allowed us to survive. Even during winter and summer vacations, she would bring me and Grandma from the countryside to stay with her for a while. Both in my past life and now, she has always loved me dearly. It was also her who brought Dean Zhou and me together. When she learned that Dean Zhou had abandoned me at the proposal scene, she didn't speak a word to him for an entire year. In my heart, she is like my own grandmother. The 1-hour journey took me only half an hour to complete. When I rushed into the room and saw Grandma Zhou leisurely drinking tea, I froze in place. Turning to look at the smug Dean Zhou, I instantly understood what was going on. Though I was furious, seeing Grandma Zhou unharmed immediately lifted a weight off my chest. After reminding Grandma Zhou to take care of her health, I got up to leave without even glancing at Dean Zhou. However, as soon as I reached the door, Dean Zhou stopped me. Seeing his indifferent expression, I was instantly furious. "Are you out of your mind, Dean Zhou? How dare you joke about your own mother's health?" Dean Zhou smirked cunningly. "I had no choice, otherwise, why would you have come?" I was utterly speechless and angrily cursed, "You're insane," before quickly preparing to get in the car. However, before I could react, Dean Zhou suddenly wrapped his arms around my waist and lifted me up, heading straight into the house. I was startled and struggled to break free from his grasp, but as a woman, how could I possibly be a match for him? The more I struggled, the tighter he held me. The more I thought about it, the more terrified I became, fearing he might do something irrational. I screamed at him hysterically, but as we neared the bedroom, I suddenly sensed the danger and quickly changed tactics, begging him through tears, "Dean Zhou, calm down, let's talk this through properly. Don't you realize what you're doing is a crime?" However, Dean Zhou acted as if he couldn't hear me, still carrying me swiftly forward on his own. The moment the bedroom door was pushed open, my heart sank into despair. I hated myself for not informing my husband, Guninyu, before coming here. What I hated even more was how I could have ever fallen in love with such a scumbag. At this thought, I couldn't help but burst into tears. Just as I had resolved to fight with all my might, Dean Zhou suddenly said with a smile, "What are you crying for? I just wanted to show you something. Is your reaction really necessary?" I abruptly raised my head and cried out, "Dean Zhou, I won't look at anything. If you have any humanity left, let me leave, or I'll never forgive you for the rest of my life." Seeing that I had lost all reason and was just screaming uncontrollably, Dean Zhou finally lost his patience. He sighed, then suddenly picked up a photo frame from beside him and held it in front of me, saying with a face full of excitement, "Nova Huang, calm down and look. What is this?" I had my eyes tightly shut when suddenly, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimpse of a familiar face. I immediately stopped crying and swiftly snatched the photo frame from Dean Zhou's hands. Looking at the familiar face in the photo, my entire body couldn't help but tremble violently. My throat felt as if it were stuffed with a stone, making even breathing seem excruciatingly painful. Clutching the photo frame tightly to my chest, I finally couldn't hold back and burst into sobs. "Zhou, my dear Zhou, how I miss you, my child." At this moment, Dean Zhou also couldn't contain his grief and wept bitterly, choking out between sobs. "I wonder how our daughter is doing now. When I commissioned the artist to paint this, I had almost forgotten what she looked like." I suddenly stood up, as if gone mad, and roared at him, "Shut up, you have no right to mention her. She's gone, vanished, completely and utterly vanished. Are you satisfied now? Dean Zhou must be thrilled to be back with Blairley in this lifetime. Huh, almost losing your mind with joy. No, Nova, please don't say any more. I really regret it so much." Suddenly, he looked at me with ecstatic joy and said, "Nova, as long as we get back together, we can have another child exactly like Zhou. We'll even name her Zhou again, and that way Zhou will come back to us. Besides, my mom has been so good to you, you couldn't bear to make her sad, right? I'm her only son, and she struggled to have me at 50. Her greatest wish in life is to have a house full of children and grandchildren. Please, even if it's just for her sake, come back to me. And what is Guninyu worth? The company's assets aren't even a tenth of mine. Back then, he couldn't even get into my circle. Why would you suffer by staying with him?" He grew more and more agitated, even beginning to fantasize about the future. By then, I had already reached my breaking point. How dare he? How could he have the audacity to make such a demand? I raised my hand in a fit of rage and slapped him hard across the face. The next second, a bright red handprint appeared on his cheek. Dean Zhou. If you dare mention Zhou Zhou in front of me again, I swear I'll kill you. Seeing my increasingly ferocious expression, Dean Zhou immediately shut his mouth, not daring to say another word. I don't know how long it took, but I finally managed to pull myself together. I picked up Zhou Zhou's photo from the table and carefully placed it inside my clothes. Looking at Dean Zhou, I said word by word, when I died in my past life, I was still carrying your child in my womb, just 2 months along. If you're so capable, why don't you try drawing that too? Dean Zhou's face instantly turned deathly pale. What, Nova, you were pregnant at that time? How could I not know? I let out a cold laugh. Why would you care about that? When I was about to show you the ultrasound report, you were pressuring me to sign the divorce papers, crying and sobbing about how much you loved her, begging me to let you go. Did you spare even a single thought for our child at that time? No, you didn't, nor did you care. Your mind was completely occupied by Blairley, your so-called first love that you couldn't forget. After venting everything, I finally calmed down. As I was leaving, I said mockingly to Dean Zhou, wasn't this life what you desperately begged for? I wish you and Blairley stay locked together forever in this lifetime. Perhaps Dean Zhou had realized I would never turn back. This time, he didn't chase after me, just stood there blankly watching me leave. A month later, Grandma Zhou passed away, though I was overwhelmed with grief. I had no choice but to accept this reality, for birth, aging, illness, and death are inevitable, and no one can stop them. Dean Zhou also visibly lost a lot of weight, but I felt no sympathy for him, only disgust. Thus, at Grandma Zhou's funeral, I did not exchange a single word with him, nor did I offer even the simplest words of comfort. The only thing I hope for is never to see him again in this lifetime. However, to my surprise, I would see him again in my husband Guningyu's office. Even more unexpected was that he had come to borrow money from my husband to start a new business venture. Through my husband Guningyu's account, I learned that Blairley had sold his 30% stake in the company to another major shareholder. This way, the major shareholder's stake instantly increased from 30% to 60%, making them the largest shareholder in the company. Meanwhile, Dean Zhou also fell victim to the scheme. His original 40% stake was gradually diluted, leaving him with only 5% in the end. Furious, he decided to cash out his remaining shares and exited the company. Originally intending to use the money to start a new business, he ended up losing every last penny. Helpless, he finally thought of his old brother Guningyu. Originally, considering me, he was unwilling to lower his head. Only after failing to borrow from everyone he knew did he muster the courage to seek out Guningyu. To be honest, I wasn't surprised he ended up in such a state. In the past, when his mother was at the company, he would seek her opinion before making any decision. Now that his mother is no longer around, he naturally cannot shoulder the responsibility alone. After being rejected by her husband, Dean Zhou left dejectedly. The next time news of him surfaced was in a piece of social news. He was sentenced to death for intentional homicide. When I saw Blairley's photo in the victims section, I turned off the TV without hesitation, holding my son and leading my daughter. I walked toward the light.